So before I begin, I personally want to thank each and every one of you for not only attending my speaking session today, but most importantly, attending the 10th anniversary for B-Sides Knoxville here in Tennessee. How awesome is that? We're going to be discussing SOC Essentials, assembling your first response team. As a quick introduction, my name is Reanna Schultz. I am born, raised, and from Kansas City, Missouri. And before we get to Q&A, I'm going to answer this question now. No, I do not have an opinion about Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce on the Kansas City Chiefs. But what I can tell you about myself is that I did attend the University of Central Missouri. I had graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Cybersecurity, Secure Software Development, and then later again, I got my Master's of Science in Cybersecurity, Information Assurance. I have a very technical background in endpoint security engineering, network security engineering, and as of today, I am a team leader out of a security operations center at Garmin. Besides my love and passion for this field, I am a huge science fiction book reader. I really enjoy reading science fiction books from the 1980s. So before I deep dive into the contents I am going to be presenting to you all today, I'm going to have a quick disclaimer. The information I am going to be presenting to you all today is not a reflection or any processes incorporated with my current or previous employers. So if you creep on me on LinkedIn, sorry, you're not going to find this information with my employers. But I can tell you the information I am going to give to you all today is community driven. This is from the cybersecurity community itself. It's areas where I have had people express concern and areas where people have given resources. One resource I recommend that you all go home and buy if you want to learn more about a security operations center is the MITRE SOC Essential book. There's a lot of great things coming out of this book that you can apply to your day-to-day, not just as a leader, but also as an individual contributor. So throughout this presentation, I am going to be discussing on how to start and mature your security operations center. I'm going to be talking about leadership. If you are a leader in this room, I'm going to be giving you all some insight on how to build a great innovative culture. And then additionally, if you're an individual contributor, how you can work with your supervisor and build a great relationship and have strong connections, because transparency is very important, especially when you're working with SOC. Things get intense. Stuff hits the ceiling. And then everyone goes home stressed to play video games and they wake up to do it the next morning like nothing ever happened. It's fun. It's great here. Now, additionally, I'm going to be talking about how you can build a career path. I often hear the things such as, I'm a senior analyst, I don't know how to go from a senior or a principal, I feel like I'm capped in my career. Okay, well, I'm going to be giving some insight on what you can do to fix that issue. And most importantly, how to write a job description. I feel like we've all seen a terrible job description recently. So I'm going to be bringing some insight on how you can write and attract talent towards your business that you're trying to build. Now, most importantly, the Security Operations Center, what do we need? We need alerts, right? This is how the SOC monitors. This is how they act on security threats and incidents. So I'm going to be talking about how you can build your alerting architecture platform. And most importantly, playbooks to reflect that. And lastly, metrics. Because if you did not know this, cybersecurity costs a company money. So when we have metrics, it reflects where that budget is going and how we're utilizing that budget towards our program. So I like to start with, what is the SOC? And this can be a reflection between, maybe a small business. If you work in a company with 50 to maybe 500 people, a SOC analyst is going to have probably a lot of different hats. They're going to be working the alerts. They might be your pen testers. They also might be the people managing your SIM and SOAR. A security analyst can have many different hats in a small business. Now, if you're in more of a bigger organization, probably 5,000 plus employees, where you have more funding towards your cyber department, those roles and hats get split up into different divisions. But a cybersecurity department can also work with their DFIR or CCERT team. So typically what a SOC does, they go in, they contain their triage, their alerts, their threats, and they might work closely with a forensics incident response analyst or a cybersecurity incident response analyst, whatever the acronym is in the area. But this team specifically tells that whole story. Again, it's not uncommon that a SOC in a smaller company might be wearing the same hat as a DFIR team, or even split up with threat intelligence, people on the dark and deep web learning about emerging attacks or threat actors, and also working with their endpoint security team, those hardening antivirus and EDR on the endpoints. These endpoints security stacks create alerts that are probably being fed into the SOC. So it's important that they have that relationship. Network security, your firewall gurus. Cloud security, we're still trying to figure out what this is in today's world. And then also vulnerability management, the team that's working on finding exploits who probably have a relationship with the pen testers who are exploiting these findings, where the SOC is needing visibility. And don't forget application security, this is gonna be your entry point. And then all of these other different departments, right, that the SOC is probably gonna have their fingertips on. Risk, compliance, policy, security education. The reason I put the SOC in the center of all this is because, again, the SOC is the first eyes and ears to all security threats and risk targeting or happening within your business. It is crucial that they have a strong relationship with not only just your cybersecurity department, but all of those other business corners as well. So again, like I said before, a lot of the information I'm giving you all is community driven. I often see, hear, and read very frequently on LinkedIn or X or even some of my local cybersecurity chapters, I am burned out. I am tired of doing the same thing every single day. Now, if we think about a security analyst, what do? They come to work, they log in, they probably have their bowl of oatmeal, I don't know what people eat in the morning anymore, and they work an alert, close an alert. They work an alert, close an alert, work an alert, close an alert, and then at the end of the day, they go home, they come back to work to do the exact same thing. It is not fulfilling. There is no purpose. There's no passion behind what you're doing. Cybersecurity, this field, can tear you apart and burn you out very quickly if you do not pursue your passions. Additionally, another thing I often hear is there is not a clear, defined career path for me. Now, when you come in as an entry-level analyst, it makes sense, right? You look at the people around you, for those who have been there for a few years, and you're like, okay, well, I'm an entry level. I know what I need to do to get to maybe that mid position, and then going into that senior security role. And then now what? What's the difference between my senior analyst or my architects or my senior analyst and a principal, whatever that job title is? You know, what am I doing? Or even sometimes your mid analyst might be doing senior level work, and so now they're frustrated because they're underpaid, they don't have a title, and it's just, why am I here? I can leave. We want to obtain our talent, and this is where it's really, really important for those who are leaders in this room to really utilize your one-on-one time. I'm sorry, but me personally, I believe everyone should be meeting with their associates bi-weekly, if not more. If you are a leader in this room and you haven't met with your team in the last month, you need to do some personal reflection after you leave the store and ask yourself, why am I in leadership? Because your job is a reflection on your team. Your priority as a leader is to invest in your team. You're supposed to be there for them. I have had moments where I canceled meetings because there's someone on my team that needs 30 minutes. Absolutely. It's important. I'm going to give you those 30 minutes. I can reschedule a meeting I'm not even going to be paying attention to. Don't care. So utilize those one-on-ones. Hear your people. Understand what they want. And if you're an individual contributor in this room, think about if any of these bullets, right, are really hitting you and you're like, oh my gosh, I am burned out. Ask yourself, why are you burned out? Are you not doing what you enjoy? Maybe you have interest in something else, like pen testing. So use your one-on-one time to go back and tell your supervisor and be like, hey, I really enjoy my day-to-day, but I'm getting burned out, but I'm also interested in this. There's an opportunity where you might be able to incorporate your passions within your day-to-day as well. And then also, if you're a leader, listen and allow yourself to have that innovative culture. Listen and maybe just try an idea. I feel like it's not uncommon in the tech field where we just white grip a knuckled process that we wrote 5 years ago. Fun fact, technology changes, right? So that process might be slightly outdated now. So when you have someone come to you, they're like, hey, let's try something new. And it's like, oh my gosh, new, that's scary, I don't want it. Just try it out, right? You're allowing that innovative thinking. There's a saying I grew up with, and it said, hey, I'm just gonna let you fall off the bike to figure it out. I grew up with a very tough love household. But again, right, that's trial and error. You're allowing them to grow. You're allowing them to pursue their ideas in a very safe way, right? You're guiding them. That's your job as a leader. So When you start creating your culture within your team, you start building a brand or a trademark. And this brand or trademark can have two different reflections, your internal brand and then also your external brand. So your internal brand, this might be reflected on your team, how they're producing deliverables. I feel like we all work with maybe a group at work and they just complain a lot, right? They're hard to work with, they're difficult. When you meet with them, they just go on and on and on about one thing, but the purpose of the meeting is completely lost and you're like, I just wasted 30 minutes. I just needed this hash to be blacklisted or whatever the case is. You know, that is a trademark that is being built. Now, you might also work with specific people in the business that you know they're go-getters. You know that if they don't have a solution, they're going to ask someone that might have an idea on how to solve that solution. So again, you as a leader, as you're building your team, as you're building that culture, providing those innovative ways to think and listening and investing into your associates, right? It's going to be investment return. You're going to start building that internal brand. How people are going to be thinking, how can I work with this team? I know if I work with them, they're going to be producing great results. And now your team is happy and they're growing, et cetera, whatever the case is. And now that's going to start reflecting your external brand. And this is really important because when you have job postings, the cybersecurity community is very small. We know people who work with specific teams. And if there is a team that has a sour taste in the community, you know, you're not going to attract the talent that you're probably wanting to relate to with that job posting. I know this one person, I'm not going to name them out of respect, but they are very well known. They do a lot of public speaking events. They took a team essentially of one, they built it to 15, and it's not unknown that people from these teams will leave and go work at Fortune 50 companies and build their program additionally. So when this person had posted a job position opening, he had over 500 applicants in less than 24 hours because of the weight of his brand he had in the community. People wanted to work for this guy because they knew the investment, they knew what could happen and the mentorship that would come with it. So additionally, brand and trademark is very, very important. And kind of highlight with what I just said about leadership, I made this really cute pyramid for you guys. So this baseline here is leadership. Leadership's gonna be that foundation to build your team. You're providing the mission and vision, the culture. You're giving the purpose as to why are they doing this? Why am I closing this alert? Well, hey man, that alert protects us against ransomware. It's kind of important. You know, you're giving that why. They're allowed to ask questions. Your team is absolutely allowed to ask questions. And if you're an individual contributor, if you're getting a task and you don't know what you're doing, go back and ask the why. Why am I doing this? Because if your supervisor doesn't know the why, there's probably some other questions that need to be asked. We're not doing work to just do work here. Another thing is once that is all built and ready, it's going to impact how your team functions. You know, they are given the purpose, they're understanding their task, and they're feeling recognized. They might accept more additional responsibilities. They might accept different challenges, right? Because they're happy. They want to build that program with that leader. And then this is how outcomes happen, right? These deliverables are going to reflect the culture that you're establishing with your team. So now that we talked about leadership, the question is, how do I start building my security operations center? Where do I begin? Well, the first thing I recommend is asking yourself, what does my organization need? What does a SOC look like for my business? Again, going back a few slides I had, a smaller business, you might have a SOC analyst with multiple roles and multiple hats. They might also be your DFIR team. They might also be managing SIM and SOAR. They could be your pen testers, right? So asking yourself, what exactly is this SOC analyst going to do? How is this going to reflect the security needs for the business? Because once you start figuring that out, this is how you could start creating development plans and job postings as well. And this might sound scary. And some people are like, I don't know how to develop career paths. I usually use the blank template that my HR team might give me. That's okay. But one thing I do recommend is starting with the NIST framework. This is a fantastic framework provided by NIST. And this allows an outline of knowledge, skill sets, abilities, and taskings. And this isn't just for cyber defense analysts. This is also for pen testers, reverse engineers, forensics engineers, endpoint security, you name the cybersecurity role, even leadership, they have a tab as to, hey, this is what this person should be able to do and perform. Now, if you take this and you're like, okay, well, I have an entry-level person. We think about entry-level, they may or may not have had an internship historically, right? So I'm going to assume they probably have little to no work experience. They're coming out fresh. They're coming into corporate America all happy and excited. So how can I get them from no experience, no skill set, to having knowledge, skill set, abilities, and taskings? And so for an example, this is something I pulled from the NIST framework. This might be a bullet I would want an entry-level analyst to have. Knowledge of operating systems. It's kind of important, right? They should know the difference between Windows and Linux and Mac. They probably should know why Windows event IDs are very, very important. Okay, yeah, that's definitely something that's achievable for an entry-level analyst. Maybe the next thing is knowledge of like TCP, UDP, ICMP. Why is this important? Why is this valid? So again, having these knowledge where I can start mentoring them, giving them education resources where they could grow and be fulfilled in that entry-level role. Now, if we go down to skills, skill in using incident handling methodologies. Absolutely, right? You're a SOC analyst. I expect you to know how to do containment and then maybe potentially escalate from there. Another one is collecting data from various cyber resources, EDR, firewall, knowing how to use the SIM that's collecting all these big data analysis tools. Now the ability section. Ability to apply technique for detecting host and network-based intrusions, right? Understanding the difference between these two alerts. Why is this on the host? Why is this happening on the network, right? Maybe about worms. Okay, so what do worms do? Well, they start on a host and then they start traveling through different file shares. So again, these are very important things to have because when they pick up an alert, they should understand what they're doing. Additionally, ability to interpret information collected by different network tools, understanding ping, NS lookup, who is probably. And then taskings, being able to identify abnormal activity in the network, right? Associating that to threats. Well, this looks like a PHP command injection because of this, okay? Well, now I'm expecting maybe my entry-level analyst to start picking up some of those things and understanding those differences. And then lastly, document and escalate. Absolutely. Absolutely. My entry-level analyst should know how to document case findings and then also using their team to escalate when they have questions or asking why or making sure that they have a second set of eyes so something isn't missed, right? So now that I have a KSA developed between entry-level analysts, this is how I, maybe as a leader, could go in and go, okay, this is how I can grow you as a person. This is how I'm going to start investing in you to make sure that you're set up for success. So when we have our career paths, right, this can also be translated into job descriptions. And I feel like I said before, I feel like it is a common theme recently to see very terrible job descriptions posted, and then you see the cyber influencers screenshot these very bad job descriptions, and then they call the company out to go fix their job description. I think it's sad and funny at the same time. But then I think to myself, do I actually know how to write a job description? If I had to post something, am I going to be made fun of, right? So going back to that NIST framework, this can also help you write those job descriptions because now you identified, hey, this is what we're looking for in an entry level. This is what we're looking for in a mid. You don't have to hit all the check boxes, but now we know where to grow and kind of an idea of what we're looking for. When you write job descriptions, they should be marketable, right? Current, accurate. There should be a clear difference between required and preferred on those job description writings. Here is an example I pulled from LinkedIn. I redacted the company's name out of respect, but we can see here, if I'm putting my shoes on as an entry-level analyst and I'm going to go job hunt in the market, I'm definitely going to be going to LinkedIn, filtering on entry-level jobs, and I'm going to be looking at jobs that way. So this is a full-time entry-level job, right? Nothing wrong there so far. But they're also looking for a senior cybersecurity analyst. followed by 5+ years of experience. I don't know about you, but there's a couple of red flags here. So again, right, if I'm looking for a job and I see this, the first question I'm going to ask is, why? Followed by, are they going to invest in me? If the hiring team did not take the time to review and properly post this job description, are they going to take the time to get to know me in an interview? Okay, what if I get the job? Are they going to take the time to invest in me? And this is why writing job descriptions are very, very important, because this is how you're going to attract talent for your team. So here's the second one. This one, we're looking for a full-time internship. Now, there's some good things I like about this. This doesn't always have to be super negative. First thing they call out is Bachelor in Computer Science Information Technology. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, a tech degree. And then also the responsibilities. These are vague enough, but they make sense, overseeing cybersecurity activities, ensuring robust cybersecurity posture is present. Okay, makes sense, right? Here's the red flags out of this. First bullet is CISSP for an intern position, followed by 10 or more years in information technology for an intern posting. Or my favorite one, managing personnel, followed by experience leading, providing executive level briefings. I don't know what intern they're looking for. And just out of curiosity, does anyone have a CISSP in the audience? Congrats on your internship. I'm sure, man. So kind of fast forward, right? If we take that NIST framework and you think about it, right? Entry level, people without experience, how are we going to write a job description for that? Now, this job posting, again, this is from LinkedIn. This was targeting interns. And this was probably one of my all-time favorite positions I have ever read. It made me so happy. I was so excited. The first one, and this is in the first sentence. This person will work with a team to apply your knowledge and gain experience. This stood out to me because, again, it's an internship. It's calling out how they're going to be invested into the team. This screams positive work culture already within that first sentence. And then moving down here, must be a student enrolled. They're not calling out that they have to have a college degree. They're not calling out that they have to obtain a certification or pursuing XYZ, right? They're saying, hey, we know that you're probably having continuous education. We just need proof that you're enrolled, right? That you're a student seeking this. That's awesome. And then my next favorite part, remember the KSAs, knowledge of XYZ, ability to do XYZ. This is the difference between a intern and entry-level posting compared to a mid and above. Knowledge of cybersecurity principles, etc. Now, when we start seeing the mid and seniors, that knowledge of gets changed to experience in. Those two words have a lot of weight when you start writing job descriptions. It's very, very important. So just food for thought. Now, like I said, investment in is investment return with your team. And as we write those KSAs and we think about what can we do to start providing that education, right? We have knowledge and tribal knowledge we learn from day to day or the mentors that we have, but what can we start doing to maybe have those external influences in? And I know a very popular training path is SANS. I have taken multiple SANS classes in a lot of my different past lives. I absolutely love SANS, right? The instructors are very passionate, great time, money worth, but it's expensive. I would probably have to sell my car to go for the next SANS course I want, plus the certification. So what can I do to give to my team or even like college students? I'm like, hey, this is how you're going to get experience in. Well, there's a lot of different platforms out there. There's Hack the Box. There's Try Hack Me. If you're an educator in this room, CISA has a lot of great resources that you can take back to your classroom, or even if you're already in the field, right? CISA additionally has a lot of cool links on their website that you can click and go through to watch boot camps or enroll in Udemy and a lot of other different platforms that you can take back. Because again, investment in is investment return. And I'm very big on understanding and finding your passions in this field. You can have a job, but you should be able to do something you really enjoy. And having that continuous education allows you to find those different avenues and your passions. So, alerting. You have your team built. You have your culture established. You have your jobs posted. You know, you're hiring. You have a path developed already. Okay, so now we have a SOC. Let's start with alerting. Well, where do we begin? It's kind of a very big question. Now, I always say scope and know your environment. Most likely, hopefully, all of you in your business have an antivirus or an EDR already employed. If not, you'll get there. It's okay. Or even a firewall, right? Security Stack, 9 times out of 10, already has a feature built in called alerts. These alerts is what's triaging security threats and risk into your environment. This is a great way, especially if you have a new SOC team, this is a great way for them to start learning lay of the land in the business, right? They're understanding, oh, we have a developer team that frequently kicks off this PowerShell alert. Well, it's part of their process, right? So now they understand what's common, what's not, what's abnormal, what they can tune, and start hardening that security stack appliance. If you're not familiar with a concept called pyramid of pain, it is a great concept for you to take back and apply when building your alert and monitoring architecture. Pyramid of pain, if you're not familiar with it, the baseline of the pyramid starts with common known indicators, hashes, IPs, domains. These are easy things that you can block with your security stack. But the handoff is, these are also easy things that a threat actor can go in and change, right? They can change an email address. They can change the website that their C2 server is hosted on. It takes a few seconds. Or even they can go into their code, add a line, recompile it. It's a completely different hash. So those blocks that you put in are no longer applicable. But again, that's why it's at the baseline. It's an easy place to start. It's an easy place to hunt on. Now, as you continue up the pyramid, at the very top, you have your threat tactics that threat actors are using. Maybe they do a specific process. A malware family is known to do this. A ransomware family is known to do this. And this is how you start building threat hunting in your business. An example I like to use is, hey, we have a process spawning from a .link file that's now calling to a PowerShell that's sending out base64 encoded scripts to a external IP. You can't hunt on hashes with that or IPs because that IP is probably going to be rolling and changing constantly. But that's a behavior you might want to start hunting on because now you're finding data trying to get sent out of your environment. So really, really cool. Again, once you kind of start figuring out what's in your environment, this is where you can start cater, hey, this is where we're missing. And if you already have alerting established in your environment and you're like, I don't know how to mature this anymore, I think we're great. No, you're not great. My biggest fear being a defender is protecting what I can't see. I walk in every day into work assuming we've been breached. It's just how am I going to find that breach today? And it's scary. That's what keeps me up at night. So if you are like, well, okay, I don't know how to find the gaps in my visibility, there's a tool that MITRE published, and it's called the MITRE Attack Framework. In fact, they have an open source repository called MITRE Mapping. And you can go in and add the different behaviors that all of your alerts have, all of your custom queries, and it maps it to all those different TTPs. And so now you could say, wow, we're really heavy on Active Directory security. But our web apps, we have no detection on these. Why is that? Well, maybe we don't have logging for our web apps. Okay, that's a gap, right? Let's work with whoever to get the logging in so we can start creating alerts and start filling that visibility gap that we're seeing. So highly recommend it. It's a great, great tool. Again, that SOC Essential book that I had a few slides back definitely covers it. So now you have alerts, you have a team. What about documentation? We love documentation here, don't we? Everyone loves writing documentation. That's why we have interns. You're doing a good job over there, CISSP. There's a saying one of my mentors told me, and it has stuck with me through my dawn of time, is when in doubt, document it, right? Documentation is great because this is how we're passing tribal knowledge. And, it's sad news. Team members come and go. Trust me, if I can retire with the same team I have today, I absolutely would. But I know that's not realistic. So if someone new is coming into my team, I want to be able to hand them a piece of document and they're going to understand how to run through an alert. Documentation should be easy to find, easy to use, current, and also accurate. And if you're like, well, I don't know how to write a playbook, don't worry. That's why we have AI. ChatGPT wrote this for me in 30 seconds. In fact, the name of this alert at the very top here is a real Microsoft Defender alert. And I went to ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, chat. And it's like, hi. And I was like, can you write me a playbook that covers like the details of what this alert for, a few investigation steps, and then also, hey, if this is a true incident, what should we do? Yeah, sure. Here it is. Copied and pasted it, put in a Microsoft Word and screenshot it for this presentation for you guys. You're welcome. So again, you can take this back for inspiration. I did change a little bit of it up to make it more usable and friendly for, I would say, the community. But most importantly, what we have here is this about section. What is the alert firing on? Like I said before, providing the why goes a long way, especially if you have an alert that has a lot of false positives. That alert loses its value. It loses the quality as to why do we have this. It eventually might get disabled, or there's 1,000 false positive tickets and a skewing metrics all over the place. So having, hey, this is the purpose of the alert. We have to have it because of this is very, very important. And then also the last audit of this documentation. Audits are really good, especially for those who are in compliance. They're probably smiling in the back of the room. They're like, yes, timestamps, thank you. If you're like, I don't even audit any of my playbooks, good place to start is if you have maybe an incident that used that playbook. Maybe if you had an alert and all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 people working on the same alert, it got escalated multiple times, and even though it's a false positive, right, that's an opportunity to go back and review that playbook and say, hey, how can we make this more usable? So that way a whole lot of people aren't escalating it. Clearly they figured something out that probably should be documented for the next time this happens. Additionally is details on how to investigate the alert. Open the Microsoft Defender 360 console. Determine reputation of the hash or whatever it is, right? Whatever those XYZ following steps are that would make sense for your business. And then also details on incident response. So if we go through the investigation steps and we're like, hey, this turned out to be a true positive, it's all over our network, muddy waters, flames everywhere, dumpster fires, we gotta contain this. What do we do? Well, first step is let's contain the host. Scope the environment, how big is the spread, whatever those IR methodologies are for your business. Because it's important that an analyst should feel empowered to go from investigation right into that first responder for the business. Absolutely crucial. Additionally, audit log. This is changes that happen for this alert. It used to be my biggest pet peeve when I was in the weeds and I would do alert creation, and whenever we had an alert fire from multiple false positives, there's always this one person that's really ambitious. They're like, I'm going to tune this alert today. And I'm like, you go, Joe, you go. So go in, tune the alert, and then a couple of weeks pass, and someone goes, hey, remember when that alert used to fire like a lot? Yeah, I haven't seen it in a couple of weeks. Did we disable it? No. And then you go in and you look at the alert and you realize the person that tried tuning it added the exclusion not wildcard, so they just excluded everything. The alert doesn't fire. It worked, right? But again, let's go in and fix it. And that's why that audit log is really, really important, because if those exclusions do happen, or if you go in and you add a section to gain more value for the alert, it provides awareness for the rest of your team so there's not a question. And that way you also know how to go in and make changes if needed as well. And then most importantly, you have your team, you have your alerts. How can we showcase to the rest of the business what the security operations doing. We, as security professionals, know how important it is to be in cybersecurity, but for those who do not wear our hats or in our shoes every day, it's kind of hard for them to know that, especially if you go into more of the C-suite briefings and stuff like that. Numbers go a long way. So one metric I do recommend is looking at mean time to detect and mean time to resolve. How fast is an analyst going in, grabbing that alert? And then also how fast are they going in and resolving that alert as well? And now this can also be a metric to push weight, maybe as to doing an audit on your alerts, such as, hey, our mean time to resolve is poor, but we have fast mean time to detect. Oh, why is that? Well, we have a lot of alerts. They're easy to close out because it's a known false positive. So of course, like that mean time to detect is high because the analysts already know, yep, we know this is the development team doing this. Close, 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 false positive. Okay, well, let's step back. Why are we closing a close, right? Opportunity in the two. Additionally, if you have a high mean time to detect, meaning it takes a very long time for an analyst to go in and grab alerts, but the resolution seems normal and average, it could be a reflection of needing resources at this point, right? If your alerts are pure, is what I call it, right? You know, the false positive rate is low, or maybe there's a true negative, right? You know what the use case is. It's nothing abnormal with that, but now you're starting to see an increase of alert volume and the detection time is taking a long time, and your analysts are starting to feel overworked. Well, now you have a metric to show back as to why you need another body in a seat to help support security in that first response as well. Additionally, you can also use SOC metrics to start tracking risk in your business as well. If you work a lot of phishing cases and stuff like that, if an analyst goes in and they're like, hey, we had a lot of users report, you know, this phishing came back as true positive, well, this is an opportunity to work with security education and start using that in your phishing pool. Or if a IT person goes, hey, we're probably going to decommission, you know, this firewall for whatever reason. Whoa, we have metrics to prove we need that firewall because we're being targeted with this attack specifically on that firewall, and it's blocking it. So metrics hold a lot of weight. It just depends on how you're going to use it. So thank you guys so much for coming to my speaking session today. I hope I gave you some insight on not only how to start or build your security operations center, but maybe some areas on how you can improve with career paths or writing job descriptions, or even how to mature your learning architecture in your business. I know I presented a lot of QR codes throughout my presentation. So going from left to right over here, we have those CISA education resources for continuous education, the MITRE SOC Essentials. That's the book I recommend. I believe there's a free PDF out right now. Don't know how long that's going to be, but you could buy it on Kindle for 99 cents or a physical copy, I believe, for $25 or $30 on Amazon. And then also that NIST framework, right? That's the framework I use for career development, job descriptions, and then very lastly, my LinkedIn. Like I said, my presentation's a lot of community-driven stuff, so absolutely please connect with me because I like giving back to the community and I like to hear from you as well. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Reanna. So my first question, my only question, it's you talked about assembling your trademark as a leader. I'm wondering, is that something that I can do as an individual contributor? And if so, how many years of experience do I need before I start?
You know, it just also depends what you want your trademark to be. Now, being an individual contributor, I feel like we always work with that one person that wants to be the SME. I want to be the guy that knows this. I want to be the person that knows this. And investing in what you're passionate about, you're going to be that person that knows all of this stuff. You're investing in what you want to be educated in. And most importantly, I think the biggest thing, regardless if you're an individual contributor, if you're a leader, one of the biggest things that came back to me, if you do not know the answer, it's okay to not know the answer. Because that's why we have other people we work with and stuff like that. You don't want to be known as the person that fluffs answers when you don't know it. It's better to have, hey, I don't have that answer. You could start this today if you want. There was a presentation earlier today with a girl who is still in high school, absolutely look at that brand now that they're building for themselves. They're taking risk, and that's how you're building your confidence. That's how you're getting yourself out there, regardless if it's in the business or also in your community as well. Take those challenges. It's okay.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, please come up to the front so we can get your question into the microphone. That'll allow us to get the question into the recorded session. Wesley, do you have a question? Yes, please.
Hi, thank you. How do you encourage metrics for performance in a way that encourages people? It's really easy to get new people into an entry-level job, but again, to your point, it's hard to keep them.
Yep.
So how do you, what are some of your tips and tricks at retention?
That's a good question. So using metrics alone, metrics can lead to either a very negative thing or a very positive thing. Again, it just depends how you utilize it. There's times where you might show metrics and it becomes more of a challenge accepted. Like, I'm going to be the analyst that closes the most alerts this week, or I'm going to be the person that runs the most incidents, right? And again, that's going to cause burnout because now they're pushing themselves at 110%. When I sit down when I do my mentorships with anyone, I always tell them, come in the office, give me 85% that day. And I know it might sound weird, right? Because you hear you should give 100%, 110%. Work-life balance is absolutely crucial. 85% gives you that 15% buffer to be able to drive home. Maybe your dog needs to go to the vet. Maybe something personal is going on, or whatever the case is, you got sick. You need that 15% to survive. And you can't give that all the time constantly at work, because then you're going to come home exhausted. So having that set, it's not really a true metric, right? Like a quantitative extra metric, but it's a good metric to allow that work-life balance. Especially, I remember when I first started, I was such a go-getter. I was so hungry. I was putting in the hours because I just wanted to learn everything so fast. And then you come home and you're so tired and you're like, I can't even pay attention to watching this TV show I'm doing today. So it's just static. But yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Great presentation. Earlier, you had a slide on where you showed the SOC in the middle, connected to all the different bubbles on the outside. Could you speak a little bit about going from, let's say, SOC team, IR team to threat hunting and some of the pathways involved there, or what you think that career trajectory would be? Yeah, from SOC to like IR to threat hunting.
Kind of what that career transition might look like.
Yeah.
So it just, again, right, it depends on your business or whatever. I think of the SOC as your first entry point, right? They're going to go in, they're going to do the containment, they're going to tell that surrounding story as a, hey, how did this alert happen? Here's the spread, here's the impact, et cetera, et cetera. And then your incident response team, they're going to come in and tell more of the story. Exactly how did that entry point happen? What caused this to actually occur? And now maybe if it's a malware, right? I probably should have a SOC be focused on triage. You know, that incident response team is going to go in and tell more about this is what that malware is doing. This is exactly what happened on the host, because then once they provide all those indicators and those TTPs, they could give it back to the SOC or even a threat hunting team, and they're like, go create an alert, go monitor this type of behavior. So that would, I would say, like high level, that would be that transition from SOC to incident response hats. Yep.
Any other questions? Wesley, are you sure, bud? You got plenty of time. Okay. Anybody other than Wesley have a question? Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. So this is kind of a loaded question, so you can answer just a piece of it maybe. But with the advent of managed XDR, how do you see shifting your strategy around your team when you have some of the SOC portions already taken care of by another external team?
Oh, the questions. I did this presentation not too long ago, and one of the questions was like, aren't you afraid of like AI replacing your level 1 or tier 1 analyst? I'm like, absolutely not. And that's because our security tools can also be hacked, right? Things are forever evolving. Security stack, whether it's EDR, XDR, whatever the buzzword is that we're going to be talking about, things can only mold and mature as fast as threats are happening. And so there's always a mindset, I feel like, on the defense side where we're supposed to be one step ahead of the threat actors, one step ahead of, people doing bad things to our environment. And the reality is we can't. Our goal should be able to swim line with these different types of threat actors so that way we can understand and learn just as fast as they're deploying these new tactics. Otherwise, we're just be waiting for the next ransomware to hit our business. And then we're like, oh yeah, we should probably learn that. We should probably call our vendor and be like, why didn't you stop this and stuff like that. So having that continuous education, having, that continuous investment can go a long, long way.
Any other questions? Okay, let's thank our speaker. That was outstanding.